you're going to be successful in business, you want to be successful at home. At least that's what we believe. And that's not always the case. I saw some sad situations with mentors of mine with large balance sheets and completely dysfunctional, non-existent family lives. And that scared me.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Behind Their Success podcast. I am Peyton Squires, the host, and today we have on Jim Sheils. He is a real estate expert with extensive knowledge in the build-to-rent niche. He's a partner at Southern Impression Homes, a company that specializes in building rental portfolios in Florida's high-growth markets for individual investors and institutional buyers. In addition, Jim is the co-owner of 18 Summers, providing family education services to entrepreneurs and professionals seeking to strengthen their family relationships while at the same time succeeding in business. Jim, good morning. Welcome on the show.
Hayden, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely, Jim. So tell me about the 18 Summer stuff, though. Really, what's kind of intrigued me reading about your background a little bit is it's not just all business, right? It's you got an emphasis on family and living a kind of a more holistic life, right? And not just about money. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing there.
Yeah, we're my wife and I never expected to be involved in that, but we've really enjoyed it. We ended up writing a book kind of begrudgingly, sharing a little bit of our family story and some things that worked for us to make sure when you're building. You're going to be successful in business, you want to be successful at home. At least that's what we believe. And that's not always the case. I saw some sad situations with mentors of mine with large balance sheets and completely dysfunctional, non-existent family lives. And that scared me. And so we wrote a book about 10 years ago. It's now on its third edition, and it's become a Wall Street Journal best-selling book. And I always joke, I don't think it's because our writing is that spectacular. I think it's the message that people resonate with. And there's a lot of successful real estate investors, entrepreneurs out there that this is an area that we don't get a lot of teaching in. And, there's lots of ways. How do we acquire the next deal? How do we market better? How do we invest? But how do you actually strengthen your family life for an unconventional lifestyle like an entrepreneur, like a real estate investor? Because it can overtake you. And that's kind of our focus. And we've been able to work with a few 100,000 families now, try to set some simple principles and rhythms into their family life that won't get them all the way there, but it can keep them at least 80% together, which is.
Yeah. That's great. I saw recently, I can't, I butcher the stat. I don't remember exactly what the stat was, but it was like divorce rates among entrepreneurs and how that is just so much more sky high than even just, divorce rates are high enough regardless, but it's even higher in the entrepreneur type world. And
doesn't surprise me. And I would even push to the real estate entrepreneurs. There's some badge of honor people put on and say, I'm available at all times and I can close it at 1 a.m. on Friday night. And I'm going, ooh, that's going to be costly elsewhere. So yeah, but especially real estate investors, sometimes it's hard for them to turn off.
Yeah. Like real estate investors, of course, and that's just kind of your typical entrepreneur kind of high driving personality, just really in general. But yeah, you spend so much of your working day, building your baby and taking care of your baby, like your business, right? And it is so hard to, it's like, I heard somebody say it this way. It was like, a lot of that problem comes from because the business becomes like the new mistress, right? The new distraction. And that's, I thought that analogy was pretty spot on.
Yeah. Get you in trouble. That's for sure. And that's our whole message. How can we succeed in business, but succeed at home? I'm the last person to take away ambition. But I also have seen some really sad cases where people delegate themselves completely out of family life, or they listen to horrible advice that was out there when I was half my age now in my early 20s. And, the advice was put your head down for the next 5 to 10 years. Your family will understand. I think that's horrific advice, especially where a friend of mine, David Bach, who's a big financial author, he always said to me, Jim, the years are not all created equal. And that always stuck with me because, the time you have with your 8-year-old is very different than the time you have with your 28-year-old. And so that's why we called it 18 Summers. The average person will spend about 85% of the quality time they ever have with their children by the end of the 18th summer. And when you start to think of that, man, you better do those first 18 right to try to get more time with them. Because I think a lot of people, if they're intentional, they can get way more time with their kids after the 18th summer. But if you don't do the first 18 right, that's where I see some really sad cases. That's where kids just, hey, I don't really know you. You're kind of a stranger. You weren't around. And when you were around, you were absent-minded. You were a little
On your phone.
Yeah, it's something. The good news is it doesn't have to be that way. It can be avoided.
Yeah. You're terrifying me. So
It's the people that, and I just did a podcast last night with a large real estate podcast. And he kept saying to me, well, I'm always asking myself, am I doing enough? Am I doing this? And I said, you're keeping yourself in check then. It's the people who say to me, no, I don't need to go over that. I got that down. I can't tell you how many times Peyton at a big event or I've been brought into company to consult. There's someone on the leadership team that does that. And it kind of concerns me. You know, I don't try to prejudge, but I'm like, ooh, when they say that with such confidence and such shutdown, normally it's because
you don't want to go there.
Don't want to go there, or they're completely, and sometimes they do. Look, sometimes they do, but the majority of times they don't want to go there, or they're so blinded to everything we just named, always on their phone, never really home. When they're there, they're not there, being a little bit, testy and impatient and stomping over them with a call right when they're in the middle of a conversation with their family. They don't even realize it. And the not realizing, that's dangerous. So kudos to you when you're saying you're scaring me. I scare myself on every interview I do because I have 5 kids and I still am concerned, how am I going to mess them up today? Yeah, keeping yourself accountable and in check and questioning yourself is one of the healthiest things I think you can do.
Yeah. And, I've heard it said this way. It's like if you're a person that's worried about something, like, worried about being an involved father or whatever, you're probably a person that doesn't need to worry. But if you're a person that doesn't worry, you're probably the exact person that needs to be worried about it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I've said the same thing around addiction and alcoholism, where I've said, I remember growing up with some wild people, and there were ones that were kind of keeping themselves in check. And I don't know if I want to do this, and I don't want to have a problem. It's, oh, you're fine. I got no problem. And it's that lack of self-reflection can be very dangerous. And there's a balance here. I'm not saying don't beat yourself up constantly. That's what this is about. This is just a little bit of self-accountability, some soft questioning of yourself, but to say, now anytime I say I'm completely fine in that area, I catch myself and go, oh, wait a minute. Is there something here that I need to look at?
Yeah. That's kind of a pretty arrogant statement, right? We all got, gains to make in really every area.
Yep.
So, Jim, you've done a lot of cool stuff. You've grown big real estate portfolios, done a lot of cool stuff, written some great books. Like, if you had to pick like one skill of yours that you would credit that's kind of led to your success, what would that be?
I'd say it's the ability to build and nurture long-term relationships. Mm-hmm. That would be one of the more blanketed skills that I've used in whether I'm family education or real estate investing. In real estate, I think the thing that's gotten me good traction is getting clear on one sentence at a time. A mentor of mine taught me that years ago. The most successful real estate investors do not need 3 paragraphs to explain what they do in real estate investing. They can say it in one sentence. And that was my whole separation from near poverty to wealth. Was what started me is I learned how to find a fixer-upper, fix it up, and then either rent it or sell it. That's it. I mean, there's no, I do some of this and some land development. And then I also have done a little bit of this and I've done some trailers and then I've looked at the multi. Anytime someone says that to me, they could be very successful. I couldn't be that way because I'm already scattered enough. But just that's what I think is separated, having a very clear one sentence in my real estate investing. And I continue to, and that's continued to evolve. I don't find fixer-uppers now. I build new construction properties for long-term wealth for myself and investors. That's my whole model right there. And so anyway, if people can get clear on one sentence, that's called the mastery instead of jack of all trades.
Yeah, that's a lot of what we talk about here. A lot of different entrepreneurs I've talked to, is just focus and clarity, right? Like, you say, maybe that person's being successful doing flips and buying trailer parks or in long-term storage or, it's doing everything in real estate, right? I would venture to guess they're probably not successful, but, very few people are able to do all those different things, but like, it really is the massively successful people are the ones that got really like one thing And they're really good at pressing that one button over and over and over and over again and just printing money, right?
That's it. That's it. I was told making money should be boring. I mean, how dare you say that? But then you have time to go jump out of an airplane, go surfing, go, mountain climbing. Have that be your adventure, your excitement. The entrepreneur has this confusion, like it has to be scary and ups and downs and sideways. And well, then you're burnt out for everything else. If making money becomes boring, well, then you can do your artwork and your adventure and your thrills elsewhere. And that's something very hard for a lot of entrepreneurs to grasp, including me. I thought I was doing oh God, it's gotten to the point of boring. And then we throw a hand grenade and we blow it up. And so, boring's a good thing. Boring's a good thing, and then you have other opportunities for other avenues of your life to really blossom.
Yeah. I think as entrepreneurs, we are really good at, like you said, throwing that hand grenade, like, hey, everything is going too well. Let's self-sabotage and blow it all up.
I'm actually feeling relaxed. This is terrible.
Yeah, that makes me uncomfortable. I have to be on edge. I think the general skill of entrepreneurship is like just taking chaos and trying to create some order out of it, right? And if you can get that order in that machine, like this business that runs as a machine that doesn't need you whatsoever, that's the ultimate goal of an entrepreneur, right? Is to create that order. But at the same time, we start to create a little order and we're terrible and just blow it up again.
Yeah, absolutely we do.
Are you looking for a new tax experience? Looking for an advisor that actually brings you high-level ideas and proactively plans so you aren't overpaying your taxes? Or how about one that even just responds and communicates in a timely fashion? If any of that resonates with you, you probably just have a tax preparer and not a tax planner. And it is through the tax planning process where all the value is found. I'm Peyton Squires. I'm a CPA and owner of WR Tax Planners. We work alongside entrepreneurs and high-income earners, helping them pay the least amount of income taxes, both legally and ethically. We have saved our clients hundreds of thousands of dollars through specific strategies, and we guarantee we can find multiple tax saving strategies that your current tax preparer hasn't told you about. If that interests you, head on over to the contact page at PeytonSquires.com. There you can fill out a contact form and get a call booked to see what it would look like to have WR Tax Planners on your team. So Jim, along your way, like you said, you've done a lot of things. What do you think is the best decision you've made on your journey?
Best decision I've made is focus on one skill set, on one type of real estate investing, on one skill set I should be handling, and the other things I should be delegating. Again, I would try to do all things, and I'm terrible at certain things. For example, I've rehabbed over 1,000 houses. I'm horrible at rehabbing myself. Horrible at it. Like, I'm not very mechanical. Like, joke. Like, you don't want me fixing it. It's
not want me either.
So you've done all these rehabs. I said, well, I understand the overall flow of a rehab. The piece is bringing in the right people, but to actually do the work, to actually repipe a house or put in new duct work or lay a foundation, we'd be in a lot of trouble. That'd be an ugly house if I'm doing it. But I just learned how it worked and how to oversee it. And I focused on one type of real estate. That was key.
Yeah. And that focus, it has so many different synergies when you really start to focus in on like a niche or a specific area. One, you become known as that guy, the go-to guy. This is the guy that builds, new rentals, right? And two, it allows you to become extremely efficient at it because, like I said, you're doing the exact same thing on repeat. It's just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And if you have a model like that, you can also train people. Like, it doesn't need you to come in and do your magic owner thing. You can train people because it's the same dang thing over and over and over again. And that, where you build that machine, that allows you to really step out and become an owner and really not be an operator anymore.
Absolutely. It's like, why would you want to keep going back to freshman year of high school instead of, for me, senior year of high school is a lot easier than freshman year of high school. Why? Because you get experience, you get into getting used to things and understanding things. And if you're always jumping from one thing to the other, like you said, Peyton, first of all, people won't know where to find you. If you don't really stake your flag somewhere, I do new construction turnkey rentals, or, oh, you're the family guy that works with entrepreneur families. It's very, like you said, directional. But if you're doing 17 different things, does anyone ever know how to refer you to someone? They can't even pinpoint where you're at. And if you're always going from this to the next to 17 other things, you'll always be a freshman. You'll never get on that inside track, that senior level where it's, easier. You have experience. Yeah. And some reason that scares people. It used to, for me, like, oh man, I have to be, man, it's nice to look at it and go, oh yeah, okay, that's how I build that one. Yep, there's the margin. Okay, yeah. And see, I'm okay.
It's boring, baby.
Yes. I've got 5 kids. I've got plenty of excitement otherwise.
Yeah. I don't think I told you that, but I have 3 young kids. I got an 8-year-old girl, 7-year-old girl, 5-year-old boys. So, it's constantly balancing the chaos of work. And, yes, I'm a classic person, good at creating chaos and feeling like, hey, I have to be busy or something's wrong. Yep. So, you're speaking my language, and I've done a lot of work of just trying to become more and more aware, right?
Yeah.
Of just all of that.
Yeah. Well, progress is what's important, not perfection. The one morning I always give to everyone, people say, what's like one thing that you always try to impart to people if they ask on family life? And I always say, don't try to fit you and your family into that horrible saying of the perfect family. Whew, that just puts a ton of pressure on people, yourself, spouse, your kids, and it's just not realistic. And what I've learned is family life is not about perfection. It's about bridging imperfections and just most of the time we have together, because that can be pretty fleeting. And when you take that pressure of perfection on yourself as perfect father, perfect family, strive for excellence, but perfection, man, family life is messy. You can't, that's like, some mornings you're brushing your teeth with the Oreos, or it feels like it with young kids, right? And so anyway, just what's possible is better than, trying to be perfect.
Yeah. And it's just linking your satisfaction, I guess, in that area to like progress or the daily activities of getting better, and not necessarily the outcomes, which is, really hard for everybody to do, but like always focusing on the process and not the outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
So on the flip side of this, Jim, you've made a lot of good decisions. What's one big mistake that we could learn from?
Doing too many real estate deals. So that's where you get all these high fives and wows when you've done how many houses and that. And I said, yeah, but if I could go back, I would do less deals of better quality. And now in my portfolio, get into the 100 property club. Well, I more than doubled that, and didn't stop to think, are these properties putting money in my pocket or taking it out? Are they?
Yeah, isn't that just a pride thing? You hit the 100 properties or what,
And so it's the quality of the property. And so I would have done less deals and do less deals of better quality with less leverage. That's it. That's my whole thing. Would have given me more holding power, less, I'm doing this deal, like rush into these 2. Oh, those went bad, so these 2 have to pay for that deal.
Yeah, you get pushing money around all over the place.
So trying to do too many deals without being a deal junkie. You know what I mean? It's almost like being a deal junkie. If I do more, it's better. That's just not true. Do less of better quality with less leverage. That's what I encourage people, because cycles come. And that's where in 2008, I had a ton of properties, but I had very little equity in each one. And they were in so-so neighborhoods, in so-so condition, worse deferred maintenance than I realized, which brought over lots more tenant turnover and tenant issues and not the best tenants. And now it's like I own way less of way higher quality with way less leverage.
It takes way less work, I'm sure. I'm just managed.
Absolutely. And if real estate comes in cycles, I always tell people that if you don't think there's always cycles. There always has been. And so if you have holding power through those, well, then you can ride through them, very comfortably, and also with new opportunities. If you're over leveraged going into these, you're going to be sweating and really scratching to just stay alive through that opportunity times,
The best position is to be sitting there with a bunch of dry powder when everything's, blowing up, right?
Yep.
But yeah, you're right. The people that are running over leveraged in the good times, right? Like at best, they're going to survive it. The worst thing is, though, you're right. They're going to not be able to execute on opportunities that are literally.
Yeah, because you gotta survive. You can't be in thriving, creative mode when you're scratching to survive. And believe me, I've been there. It's not my
A lot of
favorite.
people there in 08, 09.
Oh yeah. No, I was very lucky. I mean, we scraped the grounds of bankruptcy, but we protected our investors. We came through and a lot of people fell. And for us, we said, if we can hold our feet, so many other people are going to fall, we'll be able to just power through. And we did. That was a Peter Lynch saying, sometimes the best time to invest is when there's blood on the street. Even
Blood in the streets. Yeah.
if I had stopped, we were dead. And maybe that's somewhere my deal junkie came. Deal junkie got me in trouble, but deal junkie got me out of it. And now I'm like, now I'm going to do less and better.
Yeah. Well, now when you learn the lesson, it's like, okay, I've been through that. Don't want to do that.
Yep, exactly.
And don't need to. So Jim, looking back to early Jim, right? Early in his real estate career, if you can give him one piece of advice other than kind of maybe some of this other advice you've given, what would it be?
Don't focus on one area and one type of property. And when it comes to holding properties, focus on a little higher end. That's what I would do. When I first started investing in California, I was living in California when I first started and bought my first rental properties. I was trying to look at all different areas in California, driving over, and it's, like we talked about, do you want to be the senior or the freshman? If you're trying too many markets, it doesn't matter if you buy one house in an area or 100, you're going to need a team there, a support group. So I like to more focus on, one area, get that going. Then if you decide to go another, great. But you'd be surprised how hard it is to really dial into one area really well. Mm-hmm. So, and I think I would have saved some real, blood, sweat, and tears just focusing on one market there and going deep into that.
Yeah. I mean, it's always advice. And the amazing thing, so like I'm in a mastermind group with, 30, 40 kind of entrepreneurs around the country. And every month we do a call and somebody's on like the hot seat, just kind of telling them what's going on in their world and business and whatnot. And almost every single time the advice given and taken away from that person is, I need to get more clear on what I want. I need to get more focused. And that's like every single time, like without fail, everybody's like, yeah, I just got to get more focused. I don't know what I'm doing, and that's it. And that, kind of the advice you give there, it's just always zero, constantly letting go of things that you shouldn't be doing and getting more focused.
That's great. And to piggyback on that advice to that young person was, you are really crappy at certain things, and that's okay. You stop trying to be. One of my best business coaches, Dan Sullivan, said, if you focus on strengthening your weaknesses, you're going to have stronger weaknesses. That's not, the most successful entrepreneur, Gary Keller, The One Thing. That's a great book for all entrepreneurs. Delegate the rest. Focus on your top, what you can do to move the needle, what your unique abilities are that bring the most to the team, and delegate the rest without guilt or shaming yourself. That was a huge lesson that took time, where I wish that young, starting out real estate investor of 26 years ago, I could tell him, hey, delegate the rest, focus on your top talents.
Yeah, that's great advice too. And like, I think the first step in that is you need to become as self-aware as possible, right? Like you need to know what those are. Yep. And that comes through just study and lots of great tools out there, personality tests, whatnot, like just understanding what your natural strengths are, like everybody, a lot of our brains are, and our natural skills are really set, probably in the first 5-8 years, right, of our life. And it's not like you can't do things, but, we have these certain, your brain's really formed and you have these certain natural abilities, right? And you're generally better at some things or the other. And you need to understand that. Like I know I have a high social ability. I have a pretty high attention to detail. I'm pretty good at being in public accounting and financial advising because I have the two main skills, high attention to detail. I'm really good with people. The rest of the stuff I need to delegate your rest of, right? Like my number one thing I should be doing is just talking to people, talking to clients. Like that is, if I could do one thing, that's all I should ever be doing, is just in front of people. But I hold on to stuff. I hold on to work. I feel like, I got to do this and that kind of stuff. And it's a constant battle of let go.
There's going to be a few things you're like, no one can do it better than me. And you're probably right. Yeah. And that's okay. It doesn't need to be done as good as you do it to get to the next level or to keep things going in a positive way. But one thing that's also reassuring and also kind of a kick to the rear for everybody is there's been plenty of times like, no one can do this better than me. I was dead wrong. There were people that did it way better than me. And I'm like, oh man, I was my own, cog in the wheel, like get out of the way. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the same thing. People on my team, they're we do personality tests and stuff, so we're all really aware of like what our strengths are. And there's people on my team that have much higher attention to detail. And like, I have clients who are like, hey, I want you to do this work for him. I'm like, no, you don't. You want him to do it for you. like I can communicate it and do other stuff, but like honestly, they probably do better work than I do.
Yeah.
And you want me to get out of the way, I promise.
And you want people smarter and better than you in certain things around you. If you're always trying to find people you think are just below your capabilities or your intelligence in an area, that is the kiss of death to a successful organization.
You're always the bottleneck then, right? Because everything's got to go through you.
Yeah. And you're also holding down, excellence and growth and progress and best results for everyone on the team and your clients. And so you got to get rid of it. And that was something I had to, again, years ago. Oh gosh, this person's smarter than me. That's a good thing. That means you're doing a good job recruiting. I mean, the best in any sport can't outplay that best player they're recruiting, but they know how to inspire and lead the team.
Yeah. I mean, and I would think if entrepreneurs would see that maybe as like more of like you're a coach of a team and you're like recruiting in players. Like, of course you want the top players, right? Like, they're going to make your job easy. They're going to make you look smart and, way smarter than you are. Right. And so like, it's not let your ego get in the way, That's a lot of things, especially with entrepreneurs is the ego.
Agreed.
Well, Jim, it's been a great conversation, man. What's the best way people connect with you or get to know more about you or just kind of what you got going on?
A great starting point is called JJ Playbook. And that is me and my wife's kind of page that breaks into our family principles and our real estate journey. A lot of our clients are on there. You can learn about our building company that builds new construction properties for investors. But jjplaybook.com, you get a free download of our best-selling book and also some more info that I think will support whether it's your family journey or real estate journey or both.
Yeah, that's awesome, Jim. Anything else you want to leave for the listeners before we sign off?
No, appreciate you having me. Great conversation. And again, tell people don't beat yourself up. Just because something goes wrong doesn't mean it's the end. Just beat yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward, whether that's business, family, or whatever.
That's right, guys. Yep. Just take that next step forward.
All right.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you found it valuable, please rate, review, and share it. That is the best way to help us build this and reach more people, as we're trying to accomplish our goal of help creating more healthy, wealthy, and wise entrepreneurs. You can follow us on social media by searching for me, Peyton Squires, or going to PeytonSquires.com. On the website and social media, we're always sharing tips of personal growth, and there we can actually interact. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.